01. Probably no one expected that I would really sign the divorce agreement. After signing, I began to pack up. Not much: ID card, bank card, several sets of clothes and marriage certificate. The 24-inch suitcase is not crowded. Jiang Lanyue sat on the sofa and heard the movement. She turned her head to look at me. Have you put it away? Well, you asked the housekeeper to throw away the rest. Her eyes were calm and she took a sip of coffee. The cooling off period of divorce is 1 month. I took over the words kindly. I'll be there on time. The coffee cup makes a crisp sound when it touches the table. A thin layer of anger appeared in her eyes. It's up to you. Over the years, Jiang Lanyue's emotions have rarely been leaked. But I still clearly caught her displeasure. I think I can probably understand. After all, I was the one who proposed to sign. I saw the divorce agreement 6 years ago. Over the years, I have been waiting for the day when she will propose it. Unexpectedly, the last person to propose it would be me. I nodded slightly and pushed the suitcase out. Hey, are you really leaving? I looked up and saw Jiang Lanyue leaning on the railing on the second floor, smiling. I paused, withdrew my gaze, and continued to walk out. When you get out of this door, you are no longer my father. The girl's voice was faint, and the words she said made my heart tremble fiercely. I tightened my hand, holding the rod tightly. Well, okay. 02. I didn't leave the city. After all, life is not a novel. Everything I have is in this city, and it is impossible to leave. I stayed in a hotel for the time being. I didn't have time to mourn the spring and autumn. I began to contact the previous civil aviation supervisor. Before returning to my family, I was the youngest and most promising captain of civil aviation. I haven't touched the plane for nearly 10 years, so I don't have much hope. However, in a day I was notified to go for an interview. Thanks to my self-discipline, I maintain a good shape. Maybe my record was too dazzling, and they decided to give me a chance. I must retrain and pass the assessment before I can stay. Touching the plane again, those dusty memories gushed out like spring water. After half a year of training, I stayed. After joining the company, I moved into the staff dormitory. When I was placing things, there was a knock on the door. I haven't seen you for a long time. Why don't you know me? The person who came was wearing a uniform and smiling. I heard that you came back, so I came to see you. Are you still getting used to it? I was surprised by Su Yunjing's change. I nodded and asked, You are now. She turned around and said, The apprentice you brought out didn't embarrass you, did you? Su Yunjing talked to me about her experience over the years. Suddenly, Mom. The little girl rubbed her eyes and looked like she had just woken up. Su Yunjing gently picked her up and coaxed her for a while. Xiao Xiao, come and call uncle. The little girl shouted timidly and softly. Her appearance makes me a little confused. Jiang Lanyue was like this when she was young. As soon as she woke up, she was particularly clingy. The cute appearance with red eyes made my heart melt when I saw it. I couldn't help touching Xiao Xiao's face. She was so scared that she shrank into Su Yunjing's arms. I can't help but come to my senses. He took out the durian candy from his pocket, peeled it off and handed it to Xiao Xiao. I don't like durian, it stinks. I stared at the durian candy in my hand and remembered the little girl, my daughter Jiang Lanyue, who made a fuss about eating candy as soon as she took the medicine. Every time she finished eating, she came to me and deliberately smoked me until I pinched my nose and laughed. What flavor do you like? Uncle will buy it for you next time. The candy smused slightly and stuck to my hand, which was not very comfortable. 03. Xiao Xiao likes me very much. Probably because I am a person who does what he says. The second time I saw Xiao Xiao, I took out various flavors of fruit candy from my pocket. Her eyes lit up and she was overjoyed. I have many years of experience in taking care of little girls, and my carefulness often makes Su Yunjing tongue-in-cheek. Xiao Xiao and I are getting closer and closer. The little girl is happy to share with me the funny things that happened in the kindergarten. I always listen patiently. Xiao Xiao occasionally lowered his voice, talking about the father of a classmate. Xiao Xiao's father passed away unexpectedly a long time ago, which made me feel very sorry for her. When Su Yunjing asked me to dress up as a strawberry bear and give Xiao Xiao a birthday surprise, I gladly agreed. I appeared in the restaurant wearing a thick doll suit. Xiao Xiao rushed into my arms excitedly, and the corners of her mouth never came down. I accompanied her to sing songs and blow candles. I took off my head cover and sweated profusely. It's mixed into this ghost, and I thought you had some ability. The city is so big that there is no engraved face. I thought we could hardly meet. Jiang Lanyue dressed up delicately like a doll, if the sneer on her face was too conspicuous. I was expressionless and silent. You are not allowed to say that, uncle bad guy. Xiao Xiao suddenly slipped off the chair and rushed to Jiang Lanyue with her short legs. I just said, what can you do with me? Jiang Mo's expression was bad. Xiao Xiao's eyes were red with anger. I realized that I walked quickly and picked up Xiao Xiao. The little girl, popping, shed tears and hugged my neck aggrievedly. I softened my voice, patted Xiao Xiao's back and gently coaxed her. Take out the fruit candy. Is the watermelon flavor good? Xiao Xiao slowly stopped crying and nodded her head. Su Jingxi? I looked up and Jiang Lanyue appeared beside Jiang Mo. I said and withdrew my gaze. I accidentally caught a glimpse of Jiang Mo's hand, which was placed on her side, and clenched her fists. Miss Jiang, long time no see. Su Yunjing took the initiative to say hello. Is it your birthday? Yes, today is my daughter's birthday. A line of sight stopped on me for a few seconds. Have you forgotten that today is Momo's birthday? Jiang Lanyue said this to me. I raised my head blankly and saw Huashan, who seemed to come out to find someone behind me. I pointed. Haven't you been together? I don't understand why they didn't leave even though they saw Huashan. After a moment of silence, Jiang Lanyue dragged Jiang Mo away. Xiao Xiao leaned out of my arms, and her voice was still a little hoarse. Uncle, is that fierce sister your daughter? 04. I shook my head. No, she is the daughter of that aunt. Xiao Xiao smiled and took my hand very excitedly. Uncle, will you be my father? Xiao Xiao. Su Yunjing gave a warning. Xiao Xiao flattened her mouth and was about to cry. The little girl lost her father when she was a child and has always longed for her father. I rubbed her little head. Shall I be Xiao Xiao's godfather? Xiao Xiao held my hand and refused to spread it, and shouted sweetly to me. Dad. I responded, and her eyebrows were bent with a smile. Very sad and happy, the little girl's energy was soon exhausted, and she slept soundly in my arms. While standing by the roadside to take a taxi, Jiang Lanyue took Jiang Mo into Huashan's car. The window of the car was half lowered, and the hot gaze hit me. I don't care about the intention of this gaze and who it comes from. He protected Xiao Xiao and got into the car. As soon as I came out of the bathroom, I received a call from Jiang Lanyue. The silence lasted for so long that I doubted whether she had touched it by mistake. I was just about to hang up the phone. Momo is in a bad mood today. As soon as she opened her mouth, she confused me. Is she in a bad mood because she saw me? I thought about it and said, today is an accident. I think it's unlikely to meet in our circle of life. That I heard the sound of the wind over there, and Jiang Lanyue's tone was a little heavier. Su Jingshi, are you pretending to be with me? I don't understand what Jiang Lanyue said more and more. I pursed my lips and didn't make a sound. Today is your daughter's birthday. Didn't you say anything? In the past 10 years, I have poured unreserved love into Jiang Mo. Every time she has a birthday, I pay special attention to it and think of all kinds of new tricks to make her happy. When she was a child, her every birthday wish was, Dad will always be with me. However, all this ended on her 10th birthday. I waited until the early morning at home. In the circle of friends of mutual friends, I browsed their videos. Jiang Mo handed the first cake to Huashan with bright eyes. Uncle Hua, will you accompany me on your birthday every year in the future? After receiving Huashan's positive reply, he happily rushed into Huashan's arms. Of course, there is more than one video. Someone took the opportunity to ask Jiang Mo, do you prefer your father or Uncle Hua? Jiang Mo said, Uncle Hua is handsome and powerful. I admire him the most. I became her avoidance. Since then, Jiang Mo has spent every birthday with Huashan. In fact, I don't quite understand why they suddenly asked me for a representation. Happy birthday to her. I didn't sting on blessings. Even if a stranger asks me, I will probably give it willingly. It's a long silence again. This time Jiang Lanyue hung up the phone, and the only answer to me was doo-doo sound. 05. I didn't take this episode to heart. Until one late night, I received a call from Jiang Lanyue again. I just got off the plane and went home to sleep. I was woken up. I was a little annoyed. In a daze, I didn't pay attention to the number. Momo has a rash all over her body. The nanny said you know how to deal with it. Jiang Lanyue's voice was anxious. My chaotic brain is a little clearer. She has sensitive skin and is prone to allergies during the change of seasons. There is medicine in the medicine box. There was a sound of rumming through boxes and cabinets on the other side. Found it. Well, pay attention to ventilation. I told a word. Before hanging up the phone, I suddenly remembered. The notebook on the bedside table has some of her notes. You can have a look at it when you have time, so that you don't have to ask me in the future. What do you mean? I pinched my swollen temple. We are divorced. I have my own normal life, and Jiang Mo's affairs are not within my jurisdiction. This is very disturbing to me. Whether you find a special nanny for her or take care of her in person, you don't have to bother me. What's more, I'm not a god. I can't know everything about Jiang Mo. It's better to see a doctor if she's sick than to see me. After saying that, I hung up the phone without waiting for the other party to answer. I really couldn't stand the sweeping sleepiness, and I fell into a deep sleep again. It's just that I dreamed more than one night. I rarely dreamed of the first meeting with Jiang Lanyue more than 10 years ago. That was the most thrilling day of my flying career. The powerful airflow shook the plane back and forth, and the glass in front of the cockpit was shattered. I heard the cries of the people in the cabin. I can only pull the joystick hard to try to keep the plane in balance. The bumps lasted for a long time. Finally, he made an emergency landing at a nearby airport. Jiang Lanyue cried for a long time in the cabin. The girl's childish face was full of uneasiness and despair. When I woke up, it suddenly dawned. 06. Su Yunjing flew an international long-distance flight, and Xiao Xiao was sent to me. I took Xiao Xiao to the amusement park. The little girl was very happy, and I kept holding my mobile phone to take pictures of her. A phone call suddenly popped up on the mobile phone. It's Jiang Mo's head teacher. Hello, is this Jiang Mo's father? Hello, what's the matter? That's right. Jiang Mo and her classmates have a little conflict. Can you come over? I paused and said, Teacher, I have divorced Jiang Mo's mother. Jiang Mo's affairs are in her control. Could you please call Jiang Mo's mother? The teacher seemed to be a little anxious. Jiang Mo's father, Jiang Mo's mother's phone can't be connected, so it's working time now. Can't contact Su Lanyue, and can't the assistant? I didn't ask and thought about it. I'm not Jiang Mo's guardian now, and I really can't control her. Dad, I want to play that. Xiao Xiao pointed to the merry-go-round. My attention was temporarily attracted by Xiao Xiao, so that I didn't notice that the other end of the phone was no longer the teacher. Sorry, teacher, I'm a little busy here. I really can't take care of Jiang Mo's affairs. What responded to me was the sound of crackling. Then I heard, Hey Jiang Mo, don't run. I realized later that it was Jiang Mo on the other end of the phone. I was a little stunned but also a little relieved. I have been with Jiang Mo since she was 4 years old. I don't care about her food, clothing, housing and transportation, and her joys and sorrows. When she was young, she relied on me and was willing to accept my arrangement. As she grew up, she had her own ideas and judgments. She skipped class. I'll bring her back in person and educate her well. She will put on her headphones impatiently and don't take it seriously. I don't care about you. Anyway, Uncle Huo will send me abroad in the future. She is tired of my straining with her. She is determined to break through my shackles. Therefore, she complained to her friends. My father doesn't know anything and likes to control things. I'm really annoyed. If only Uncle Huo were my father. He is interesting and understands me. The tone was full of regret and regret. Even if you find me, you don't feel guilty. It's okay if you hear it. I just like Uncle Huo's father. 07. I played with Xiao Xiao for a day. At the time of parting, she took my hand and was reluctant. Dad, you promised to take me out next time. The little girl is afraid that I will forget. I half squatted at her and said seriously, if you forget anything, you won't forget to take Xiao Xiao out to play. Xiao Xiao kissed my face. Good night, the best dad in the world. I was stunned for a moment. Good night. Recently I have been playing with Xiao Xiao, and I can always feel the gaze that seems to have nothing. Colleagues seem to be discussing something. There is a girl nearby who often hangs around downstairs. Do you like someone? It's quite beautiful, but it doesn't look too big. Su Yunjing pulled Xiao Xiao over, looked at me and said, I've seen you several times. Your daughter is downstairs. Is she looking for you? I stopped moving and didn't say anything. Su Yunjing opened the curtains and looked at it. Then he turned to me and said, Are you really not going? It's quite far from the villa area. Aren't you worried? I shook my head with a smile. As it was getting late, Su Yunjing seemed to be worried about Jiang Mo's safety. Don't worry, her driver should be nearby. Su Yunjing looked at me back and forth several times and finally asked, Even if you divorce Miss Jiang, she is your daughter after all. Why do you need to be so? She paused for a moment. Indifference. I didn't know where to start. It seems that when you say it, there is always an element of gambling with the other party. But I'm not angry. I just think that not seeing each other is the best ending between us. 08. Xiao Xiao pulled me to eat ice cream, so I had no choice but to take her downstairs. The gaze that was so strong that I couldn't ignore it hit me. I looked up. Jiang Mo stood at the bottom of the tree and suddenly lowered her eyes, as if she was a little nervous. I didn't take the initiative to say hello, and led Xiao Xiao over as if nothing had happened. Dad. The girl's light voice came into my ears. My pace only stopped for a second. Jiang Mo stood in front of us and took a deep breath. Dad, don't bully my father. Xiao Xiao opened her arms and stopped me behind me with a serious expression. Looking at the little figure waiting for Yan Zhan, I couldn't help hooking my lips. Jiang Mo's expression changed from stunned to angry. This is my father. Xiao Xiao was unwilling to show weakness. It's not. Dad said that you are not her daughter. Looking at Jiang Mo's slightly red eyes, I was a little helpless. Well, you really found the wrong person. Jiang Mo was completely stunned. Xiao Xiao and I walked a long way before she reacted, and then ran to hold my hand and trembled slightly. Dad, are you angry? I shook my head with a smile and gently brushed her hand. You really have the wrong person. The girl's eyes were full of tears and she shook her head. No, I'm your daughter Jiang Mo. After divorcing my ex-wife, my daughter actually said to me, if you leave this family, you will no longer be my father. 39,103. You must be angry that I don't study hard and don't listen to you. I promise to study hard in the future. What she said was incoherent. Dad, let's go. She seems to be crazy. Xiao Xiao huddled behind me. I bent down to pick her up and walked quickly to the convenience store. Dad, that sister didn't follow me. Xiao Xiao said in my ear. Jiang Mo's expression was dull and she was stunned in place. It seems to have suffered a great blow. 09. I never thought that Jiang Lanyue would take the initiative to come to me. Entering the room, Jiang Lanyue glanced at it, as if to confirm something, and her tense face finally eased a little. Out of politeness, I handed over a glass of water. He didn't say anything and waited quietly for her to speak. Su Jingshi, you are such a nerd. Can't you take the initiative to talk to me? Jiang Lanyue's eyebrows were rarely stained with childishness. This sentence distracted me for a long time. The time and space in front of me was distorted, and Jiang Lanyue seemed to become more childish. She wrapped her arms around my waist and said, can't you take the initiative to talk to me? I stiffened my spine and even forgot to turn the dishes in the pot. Well, I know you don't like to talk, so you can only wrong me. The beautiful picture is gone. Su Jingshi, are you listening to me? Jiang Lanyue's face was cold. Well, you say it. She calmed down and said, what did you say to Momo yesterday? Do you know that she cried a lot when she went back? I have nothing to hide. I just told her that I was no longer her father. What are you talking about? Jiang Lanyue exploded, and her pupils widened. Compared with her anger and disbelievability, my expression is pale. She is your own daughter. You don't recognize her? She suddenly stopped as if thinking of something. Is it because of what Momo said that day? She's just a child. Can you take the angry words you say seriously? Yes, Jiang Mo is just a child. She just said so. I shouldn't take it seriously. It is probably a natural instinct for parents to love their children. This instinct is so terrible that people forget the pain after the scar is healed. But the injury is too heavy, and the new wound overlaps the old wound, which will also hurt. After not singing his position for a long time, Jiang Lanyue lost her patience. She carried her bag and slammed the door and left. After that, they disappeared from my life. Su Yunjing learned something about Jiang Mo from Xiao Xiao. Look, the little girl was angry with you and regretted it. I shook my head again. Maybe in the past I would worry and care. Nowadays it's not like this. I don't really care whether she comes or not. Or it has nothing to do with me. Maybe it's because of the tiredness of the previous life. They don't appear in front of me, so much so that they feel that there is indescribable ease. 10. I have to say that the world is really small sometimes. Su Jingshi. I follow the reputation. It's Jiang Lanyue and Jiang Mo. The crew members all turned around and looked back and forth with curious eyes. You guys go first. I'll be there later. Approaching, Jiang Mo whispered, Dad. I took off my sunglasses and said, What's the matter? I haven't seen you like this for many years. Jiang Lanyue looked at me up and down. I turned sideways in my ways. If it's nothing, I'll go first. As soon as I took a step, Jiang Lanyue said, Momo is very serious about her study now. That's good. She pursed her lips. You should have seen what the teacher sent in the parent group. Momo worked so hard for you. I straightened up. She studies hard not for others but for herself, and I have left the parent group. Jiang Lanyue looked at me in astonishment. Why? I'm not her guardian. I pulled the suitcase and was ready to leave. Jiang Mo's eyes were red, and her voice choked. Dad. Warm tears fell on the back of my hand, but burned into my heart. When Jiang Mo was 4 years old, Jiang Lanyue's career was on the rise and I flew everywhere. She was forced to be taken care of by a nanny. One time in the middle of the night, I got off the plane and went home. Unexpectedly, it was found that Jiang Mo's huddled in the quilt, and his small face was full of tears. Dad, I'm afraid. It was these 4 words that made me resolutely give up my job and return to my family. When I was a child, Jiang Mo was very happy because I could accompany her every day. She couldn't stick to me. Even once she only called Dad, which made Jiang Lanyue jealous. As the child grows up, she will gradually find that her father is not a hero, but just an ordinary person. When she found that the children around her had a good father, she disliked me more and more. Dad, why don't you have a job like other dads? They said that those who stay at home and rely on their wives to raise them are useless little white faces and eat soft rice. After Huashen appeared, she said bluntly, "My mother is so good that she should be with Uncle Hua. Standing in front of me is the daughter I put my heart into. Her tearful eyes can no longer stir up the waves in my heart." The mobile phone suddenly rang, a colleague's message. "Sorry, I'm too late." 11. Time flies and it's early summer in a blink of an eye. "Hey, how is your child's college entrance examination this year?" "Don't mention it. It's only a few points higher than the undergraduate line. It's so sad these days." After listening to my colleague's discussion, I knew that the college entrance examination had been scored. I also received inquiries from several relatives and friends on my mobile phone one after another. I replied lightly, "I don't know." But I soon knew Jiang Mo's grades. Early that morning, I was awakened by the noise at the door. I got up a little and opened the door irritably. I saw a crowd of people at the door with long spears and short cannons, scrambled to ask me, "Are you Jiang Mo's father? What on earth happened between you and Jiang Mo? Is Jiang Mo's top prize in the exam to make you forgive her?" After listening for a long time, I was confused. Someone showed me the video. In the video, Jiang Mo openly shouted in an interview with the TV station, "Dad, I listened to you. Can you forgive me?" Reporters are still asking questions. Obviously, they don't want to let go of this big news. I kindly reminded, "You are looking for the wrong person. I'm not Jiang Mo's father." As soon as this was said, the whole audience became quiet in an instant and looked at each other. "No, I checked it. That's it. You must be wrong. It should not be his daughter. Otherwise, who wouldn't recognize Shuang'en as his daughter? And I heard that Jiang Mo is very rich. Her mother is the president, which should not be her father." The reporters left doubtfully. As soon as I turned on the mobile phone, several messages popped up crazily. They all congratulated me, and even the relatives who fell out of Jufu sent messages. Sometimes people are really heartless. They used to be regarded as the most important and precious people in life, but now they can also turn a blind eye to them, without sadness or joy. I even feel annoyed. I didn't reply at all. I turned off my mobile phone and continued to sleep. 12. Jiang Mo personally sent the invitation to the promotion banquet. "Dad, you must come to my graduation banquet in 3 days." That I didn't want to go at all, but I didn't refuse directly and accepted the invitation. Jiang Mo seemed to be relieved. I calculated the time. I have something to do that day, so I shouldn't be able to make it. "It doesn't matter if you come later." There was a faint expectation in Jiang Mo's eyes. Xiao Xiao, who was building blocks on the side, suddenly came over and pulled the corner of my clothes. "Dad, you promised to come to Xiao Xiao's graduation ceremony. You can't lie." Then, she turned her head and said to Jiang Mo, "Sister, Dad is going to my graduation ceremony. I don't have time to go to yours." Xiao Xiao said very bluntly, and Jiang Mo's face became more and more ugly. "Xiao Xiao, will you go play first?" Xiao Xiao nodded and jumped back to build blocks. Jiang Mo's face turned pale and she bit her lips tightly. "Dad, I'm your daughter. Why don't you come to my graduation banquet for outsiders?" I stated the facts calmly. "I promised Xiao Xiao first not to mention I'm going. Aren't you afraid of losing face? If she is a little older, she is just a little disgusted and dissatisfied with me. Well, Jiang Mo, who has entered puberty, is disgusted with me. In the circle of rich family, comparison is really common. And I, a father who is restrained to the family and has no achievements, makes Jiang Mo unable to raise her head in the circle. The accumulated anger naturally vented on me. How can I have such a useless father as you? It's a shame." Jiang Mo's face was difficult and she hesitated. She wanted to explain, but she didn't know how to say it. Finally, he said eagerly, "However, I know I was wrong now. Dad, please forgive me. I'm not angry." Jiang Mo was overjoyed. However, my next words made the light in her eyes dim inch by inch until it went out. "Jiang Mo, from a biological point of view, I am your father, and this will never change. I won't be angry with you. I just hope you don't bother me anymore. You don't lack my father. I live for you in the first half of my life. In the following days, I just want to live a stable and peaceful life alone." I looked calm with firmness and seriousness in my eyes. Maybe my tone is a little heavy. Jiang Mo squatted on the ground and cried until she collapsed. Jiang Mo actually doesn't like to cry. She has always wanted to be a strong woman like Jiang Lanyue. Even if it hurts when she falls, she will grit her teeth and hold back her tears. But she cried 3 times in front of me. There seems to be a common sense between parents and children. In the past, when I saw her sad, I would only be sadder than her. Now I don't feel it at all. I handed her a tissue and waited quietly for her to finish crying. Teen. Jiang Lanyue is a proud person. I thought that my repeated refusal would make her not appear again. One day, Su Yunjing said to me with a smile, "Hey, your daughter came to warn me." What did she say? I didn't say anything, just that she and Miss Jiang are your relatives. Let me and Xiao stay away from you. I frowned. The little girl is very interesting. She came to warn me, but she cried while talking. Su Yunjing seemed to be looking at my reaction and said tentatively, "She is your daughter, so you can't." Before she finished speaking, I got up and left. Needless to say, Su Yunjing has become Jiang Mo's Rababi. After a day, Jiang Mo appeared again. Dad, I understand. I used to be too wayward, and I have been slowly changing it. I'm not here to disturb you, and I won't bother you either. I just want to see you. Don't drive me away, okay? Jiang Mo's eyes are wet, which is easy to make people feel pity. It's obvious that I haven't had a good rest during this period. I feel unspeakable boredom in my heart. Say, it's up to you. Jiang Mo ran to me when she was free. He rarely talks, so he paints quietly. Occasionally, colleagues who visit each other always ask, "Chisser Su, where did such a well-behaved little fairy come from? She is so good at drawing." "Uncle, I'm his daughter." Jiang Mo answered the question sweetly. Jiang Moxing rushed to hold the eye she drew. "Dad, I'll give it to you." I glanced at it, said thank you and put it aside. She didn't move. I followed her gaze and saw Xiao's painting on the wall. Don't make any explanation. I don't have fixed working hours, so naturally I won't talk to Jiang Mo. She always has a time when she is empty and doesn't leave. Hearing the sound, Jiang Mo, who was squatting at the door, looked up and pulled out a smiling face. "Dad, you're back. It's very late. Go home quickly." 14. Jiang Mo ran to me every day, and Jiang Lanyue came to her door. Maybach's window was half lowered. Jiang Lanyue held the phone and stretched out her hand to signal me to wait. Such scenes often appear in the second half of a marriage of more than 10 years. In the past, I was willing to wait, consider it and understand. Just as I stepped on the stairs, Jiang Lanyue trotted and grabbed me. "Don't go. I have something to tell you." Her face turned slightly red, but a little less fierce. "Well, you say it." She was silent for a moment. "Momo likes you very much. You should be able to feel it." I don't say yes or no. I've thought about it. Based on many considerations, I think we should remarry. Jiang Lanyue lowered her eyes, and the blush on her face became more obvious. In fact, we didn't have any conflicts in the first place, and Momo also. She looked up and found that I was looking at her strangely. What's the matter? Didn't Huashan propose to you? It's not my speculation. She and Huashan were originally childhood sweethearts. If it hadn't been for the incident with her parents at the beginning, the Hua family would not have cancelled the engagement. The rich family pays attention to interests. In the face of interests, that little truth is worthless. A few years ago, Huashan finally became the person in power of the Hua family. Everyone thought that Jiang Lanyue would divorce me. Think so too. Because I saw the divorce agreement she hid in the drawer of the study. But she didn't take the initiative to mention it. I think it's probably for the little gratitude I accompanied her out of the haze. Not long after the news of my divorce from her spread, her friends in her circle began to mock me. Huashan will propose to Lanyue soon. They are a natural couple. A trace of panic flashed in Jiang Lanyue's eyes. I didn't agree. Why? I blurted out. It was a long time ago between Huashan and me. He and I are not the kind of relationship you think. If you ask me to remarry only for Jiang Mo, I think Huashan will be more suitable. After all, Jiang Mo likes him very much. Jiang Lanyue's body looked a little stiff, and her standing posture was not as calm as before. No, the female president who is fierce in the mall, sometimes speechless. Miss Jiang, don't be too selfish. 15. I spent the darkest moment of Jiang Lanyue's life with her. At that time, her parents died in a plane crash, the Hua family withdrew their marriage, and she was pushed out of the board of directors. The continuous blows made her, who had been smooth since she was a child, depressed. I stayed by her side, found a doctor for her, opened her, and took care of her. Clean up the gloom in her heart little by little. Like all vulgar redemption articles, Jiang Lanyue found herself, and then I married her and had children. Many times I feel like a tool person who can be left behind if not needed. Maybe her feelings for me are more grateful than love. Therefore, she did not stop Huashan's behavior. I don't want to be anyone's husband or father, let alone a tool person. I didn't treat you as a tool man. Suddenly I laughed. Unconscious exposure is the most hurtful. Over the years, neglect and separation cannot be erased by a sentence of, I don't. It doesn't matter whether you have it or not. What matters is that I just want to live an undisturbed life. I don't want to take a closer look at the bad things in this marriage, and I don't want to make the marriage which is full of holes more broken. I don't love Huashan, I love. I interrupted. Some words were not said at that time, and there is no need to say them later. People can't live in the past forever. After a long time you will get used to it. Also, don't let Jiang Mo come. I just want a piece of purity. Jiang Lanyue bit her lower lip, raised her head, and quickly wiped away the tears from the corners of her eyes. Her pride did not allow her to continue to show weakness. Good. She walked to the car and paused for a second before opening the door. The car drove into the dark night, leaving a silence after the roar. The next day when Jiang Mo came, her eyes were red. After a long time she said, "Dad, I'm going abroad." "Okay. I don't want to go abroad." "Jiang Mo, I'm going to work. Things are bound to hurt. If you care too much, you will hurt yourself. When you learn to underestimate everything, you will find that it's just error."